So welcome everyone. This is our third bioengineering welcome event of the summer. Hopefully this isn't your first one. You're able to join us for the first or second one, but in case it wasn't, we are recording it and we will send out a link to both the first and this last one tomorrow. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties for the second event, so we don't have that video, but we'll have the first and this one out for you tomorrow. My name is Ben Porter. I am one of the instructors of our Introduction to Biomedical, getting mixed up with my other class. I'm one of the instructors for our Introduction to Bioengineering classes. And I'm also one of the LLC coordinators, but we'll talk about a little bit later what that means. But today I am introducing our event. So today we're going to be discussing our degree plan and kind of what you can expect from your education and kind of in this first year with us. And then we're going to introduce you to our academic advisors, get to know them some, and kind of some of the behind the scenes people who work with our undergraduate students within the department. So our basic schedule, we're going to start off with Dr. Amy Walker. She is the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Education in ECS, the Eric Johnson School of Computer Science, or Engineering and Computer Science. Then we'll have Dr. Shalini Prasad, our department head, who will talk about our curriculum for you. Then we'll have our undergraduate advising team who will introduce themselves. Then we're going to have a break for some Q&A. So be sure you're jotting down all your questions between now and then, and you can ask any of your advisors any questions you have about your degree plan. Then we'll jump back in and I'll explain more about what that freshman class is going to look like and kind of the events that we have planned for you for this upcoming semester and into the spring. Then we'll have Dr. Betsy Willis. She is our academic program officer who's going to tell you more about what she does and what the program has for you. Then we'll have Dr. David Schmidtke. He's our undergraduate committee or curriculum committee chairperson who will talk to you about how we develop our curriculum. And then we'll have Miss Leah Matheson, who's our academic support coordinator, and she'll tell you more about the department and kind of what we have planned for you and what she does. And then we'll have, again, another Q&A session where you can ask us just pretty much anything you want to ask, and we'll do our best to answer you. I would ask for our presenters, if you wouldn't mind, keep your microphones muted until it's your turn to present or to talk. I think that'll help avoid a lot of the confusion. So having said all that, we're just going to jump straight in. And let me say welcome to Dr. Amy Walker, our Associate Dean of Undergraduate Education. So welcome, Dr. Walker. Take it away.
Well, thank you, Ben, and thank you for inviting me to this meeting. It's really wonderful to virtually see everybody. Obviously, we can't be in person right now, but welcome to the Johnson School. We've got lots of exciting things going on. As Ben mentioned, there's a lot of exciting things that happen in the freshman year or your first year. We've got everything from the Introduction to Bioengineering class, Introduction to ECS, lots of fun things to do, including the LLCs, which I know Ben is heavily involved in. It's nice to see all the advising team because they're here to support you. And look after you throughout your entire time at UT Dallas. They're a wonderful resource, and they'll look after you as best that they can, and always trying to go the extra mile. So feel free to always talk with them, ask them any questions. Don't ask the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Education because she probably won't be able to answer it. I will be totally honest. A couple of things that I do want to highlight. We have some great resources if you're thinking about going to medical school, which I know some of the biomedical engineers would like to do. We have the basically what's called HPAC, which is the Health Professionals Advising Center, and they're there to help you out. We have a wonderful careers counseling center. We have lots of services. We have all sorts of services to look after you. But in the more academic world, I do want to point out, we heard today, which is really very exciting because our labs have been actually closed to undergraduates for the last 3 months at least, that we will be also opening up undergraduate research. So if that's an area that you're interested in and going into graduate school, we'd love to talk to you. Best way to do that is to contact people that you're interested in, and also talk with all of the academic support stuff actually within biomedical engineering. So welcome, and I'll pass it on to Dr. Prasad, who is the department head. So Shalini.
Thank you, Amy. So all of you have heard from Dr. Walker. So she and her team are here for you. And you have to believe, and I told you earlier, bioengineering, it's all about community at UTD. And that's what the ECS advising team will be for you all. So before we get into talking to the ECS advisors, I wanted to give you all a sense of what your degree plan at a big picture is going to be like. We've actually made a few changes to your degree plan over the past year, such that all of you entering this fall 20 have an updated degree plan, which has addressed many of the pinch points that your upperclassmen raised. So let me share my screen, and then I'll try to show you. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to show you, or my calendar, but I'll get to this. And I hope all of you can see my screen. Okay. And since I can't see any of you, I'm going to go presenting and I'll take questions later. So yes, we are celebrating our 10th year. So you have joined us in this highly important year for us. It's highly it's a great year for us, memorable year. So the degree plan for all of you freshmen starting in fall 20 has been updated. So when you talk to your upperclassmen for advice on courses, this is a caution, because things that they have to do on their degree plan are different from what you will be doing during your academic tenure here at UTD. So what are the key changes? What are the updates? So we've done a lot of what we call stakeholder analysis, which is basically talking to your upperclassmen, the students in the program, your senior peers. And what we found was that there was a need expressed for essentially showcasing the diversity or the interdisciplinarity in biomedical engineering, giving student the opportunity to explore that in an experiential manner. And the second thing was to build up your skills. Now you have to build multidisciplinary skills towards the needs of the industry. So the way we have done is now we have layered your curriculum with basic science as well as applied science and engineering towards doing this, towards building your knowledge base and skill set. So we have balanced the multidisciplinary aspects of bioengineering, and you're providing you students with more options to customize your degrees. So we're giving more upper level electives for you, which will help you to shape the direction of what kind of a biomedical engineer you want to be, whether it's biomechanics that interests you, bioimaging that interests you, or biodevices that interests you. So these are all options that you have for you in the curriculum. So this is how the layout of your degree plan broadly looks like. By the time you're done at the degree, so you're going to have 128 semester credit hours. I apologize. Sorry. So 128 semester credit hours that you should have completed. So the math and science semester credit hours are 39, and you can see the BME and core credit hours 40, and our electives are 12, which broadly translates to 4 elective courses in biomedical engineering. And then, of course, what is common to most engineers, you have to do the Texas core, which is 24 semester credit hours, and general engineering is 13 semester credit hours. So this is what you have to achieve as a part of your degree plan. And this is where your BMEN advisors in ECS advising will help you map this course, chart this course such that you end up with making those 128 semester credit hours. So what are the key features of your degree plan? One thing we have found out, one of the toughest courses in bioengineering actually is thermodynamics. And this actually is a 3000 level class. But in order to do well in thermodynamics, you have to have a good foundational basis in chemistry. So what we have done now is expanded the amount of chemistry you get, which helps you build up your skill set and base to attempt thermodynamics and be effective in your first attempt and get through that. So you will be doing Chem 1311 and the lab along with it, and Chem 1312, which is through our natural sciences and mathematics. And the second important aspect of biomedical engineering is a good understanding of physiology, all the way from the molecular level to the systems level, that is, of our human body. So, in order to do that, we cannot achieve all of that in one semester and stress you out. And as Dr. Walker mentioned, many of you may want to go to med school. So, if that is the case, the physiology has to be strong. So, we're going to do all the way in a 2-semester sequence, molecular to system. Then, to give the experiential learning aspect, that's what we are after. So, we have now created a new junior design lab, which will help you and train you to prepare for senior design. Because you heard Dr. Paul say in the last meeting that by the time you come to senior design, he's treating you as a fully trained engineer, and they're all expecting you to deliver to your sponsors. So, in order to give you a flavor, kind of like a dress rehearsal on how to do it, we have created this junior design to help you do this. And in addition, as I said, you have four guided electives that you can take in your junior and senior years. So if you feel that you have to explore the regulatory aspects of biomedical engineering towards medical devices, Dr. Porter teaches that class, and you can take that class that gives you a good understanding of an introduction to biomedical devices, the med devices area. Or you want to be a bioimaging expert, you want to understand that. So then we have both Dr. Bawe Fay, as well as Dr. Patrick Winter, who teach guided electives in those areas. So there are many, many electives that we are offering now within the department that we allow you, and also some courses even offered by other departments in engineering that we allow you to take to help you build up your interdisciplinarity in your portfolio. And this is where your ECS advisors come very handy, because they're going to help you kind of figure through what makes sense for that semester for your degree plan. So that's what I have in terms of the degree itself. And I will stop sharing at this point. And with that, I will punt this back over, I guess, to Ben.
Great, thank you. Oh, my video. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Prasad. And now I'd like to introduce Tanisha Edwards. She is the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Advising and the Eric Johnson School of Engineering and Computer Science. I can't say that for some reason tonight. Tanisha, welcome. I'll let you go ahead and introduce your team as well. So thank you. Go ahead, take it away.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hello, everybody in our new comments. We're really excited to have you guys here today. For the most part, we are your academic advising team, and it includes myself, Tanisha Edwards, and then we have Casey Henley. I don't know if you guys can see their pictures, but Casey, you can say hi or something. Adam Majors.
How's it going?
Kyla Flores.
Hi.
And Nazreen Hassan. For the most part, we're here to help you guys during your journey with us in ECS. And so anytime you guys have questions, or if you guys have any type of concerns, just know that you have an ally here on campus to kind of help to guide you through your time here. For the most part, we have a little bit of knowledge on everything. Now, mind you, none of us are engineers, but we know engineers and we know your instructors enough to be able to point you in the right direction if you're having trouble with your classes. Also, if you have any other issues outside of that, like we have ties to the counseling center, the student health center. So whatever resources that you need on campus, we can get you connected with those. Also, in terms of your degree plan, we can assist in that way as well, in that our job basically is to make sure that you graduate in a timely manner, and that you have a pretty strong GPA once you leave here. So we want to keep you here. We want to make sure that you are progressing through your degree. And so it's our job to make sure that you're here and you're doing that. We do that through things like audits. So you'll have little holds and stuff put on your account basically saying, come and see us. You'll also get reminders from your advisor. You'll get all type of stuff from us. So be sure to check your UTD email often, and then also communicate with us anytime you're having any trouble, or if you just want to say hi. We're very friendly people. So that's all I have.
Great. So really, we'd be interested in questions from our incoming students. So if you have questions about your degree plan or what's going to happen or how the advising is going to work, please type it in the chat box. Or if you have your microphone hooked up, go ahead and feel like you can ask away. So I'll start off with the first one. What is advising going to look like for this fall and potentially in the future?
Okay, so that one is an interesting one. So with COVID-19 pandemic, we were definitely pushed to a different format in that usually we're located 2.502 in ECS South, so the Eric Johnson Engineering Computer Science South building. But right now we are all working. So you'll find that our advisors are primarily working through Microsoft Teams. So this platform is here to meet. So we'll meet with students in a group format. We'll meet one-on-one. We're kind of toying around with how we're going to do walk-ins. And so we might have walk-in hours and things like that for everybody. But email is the best way to get in contact with us, because that way we can research any problems that you might be running across and get back to you as soon as we can.
How would I know who my advisor is? Am I muted?
All right, Casey, would you like to take that one?
Sure. So I am going to post a link into the chat area because we have an ECS advising website. Know that it is actually also soon to be updated. So we're working to make things better and easier to use for you. But in ECS advising, all of your advisors are divided by major, group, and by last name. So as advisors, the three advisors that you see here and Nazreen, we're all specifically Mech and Beeman. That's our major group. And then we each have alphabets that we cover. They recently got updated, but Kyla, who you can see is A through D last name. So if your last name starts with an A through a D, Kyla is your assigned advisor. If your last name starts with E through K, I am your assigned advisor. L through PA is Adam. Nazreen is PB through U. And then Tanisha is currently V through Z. And well, hopefully you will learn who your advisor is and you'll just know to contact them. If you ever need to double check just to be sure, you can check our website because we have that listed on that as well.
Great. And then, so Nadia is asking, is there a place we can get the updated Beeman degree plan online? Where can they find the degree plan?
All right, so
yeah.
We'll be updating our degree plans on the website. So right now we have like a new frequently asked questions document that we're working on to make sure that you all have more information online. But the best place to get it at the moment is going to be from your advisor. So you can just shoot your advisor an email and ask for an updated degree plan until our website is updated.
Excellent. Okay, you all keep the questions coming here. So I have another one for you. When should they actually start planning for the spring? Like when would they want to come meet with you to start laying out that plan to get those courses scheduled?
Adam, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So actually in your ECS 1100 class this fall, we're going to have a day where we spend time specifically helping you plan for your spring semester. So it's a little early right now to worry about it, but at some point towards registration, before that date actually comes, we're going to sit down, we're going to go over your degree with you. We're going to devote time with you to go over your degree and everything and tell you what classes you should pick. If you plan on doing pre-med, you want to let us know so we can make sure you take specific courses for pre-med. Otherwise, we'll make sure you're taking the right courses you want. Having said that, especially since the Beeman degree is so complicated, we always recommend you meet with us at least once a semester just to make sure we're all on the same page and you are taking the class you want to take. So again, don't worry about it right now, but rest assured, we're going to take care of you in your ECS 1100. And then all of us here are more than happy to answer that question for you anytime you want.
Would I have to meet with you in order to enroll in classes?
So for ECS 1100, oh, did I interrupt you, Tia?
Oh, no, I was going to let Kyla answer that one.
Kyla's got it, sweet.
Awesome. So for spring registration in particular, and probably in lieu of having our one-on-one meetings, which some of us, maybe we have group meetings, some of us may have in the past have sat down with a student one-on-one, or we usually split the class. But since we're doing everything online this semester, it's going to be a little bit different. What I plan to do with my students is I'll likely have one-on-one meetings scheduled with each student, so that if you have specific questions about your account, or about your AP credits, which ones will go where, because many students have different types of AP credit. You'll have that individual one-on-one time with us online. So we just book an appointment through GenBook. What I do is I also book it on my calendar through Microsoft Teams. That way my students will get a link to join it. And if you email me as well, I can still shoot you the same link, and that'll take you to a URL that'll help you join the appointment. So everything can still be done online, and technically we're meeting, but it will likely not be in person.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
So Kyle has a question. Any information about Fast Track or the 5-year master's plan? So how does Fast Track work here?
All right, Casey?
Sure. So kind of similar to the question about how do I plan for spring. That's not something you have to worry about at this exact moment. But basically, Fast Track does have certain classes that you have to take before you can apply. Typically, it's towards the end of your junior year. It kind of depends, and a certain GPA that we're looking for as well. And so at this point, the main focus is to focus on your grades, because the GPA is very important towards getting into Fast Track. It's also important to note that Fast Track is a way for students to take a few graduate classes as an undergrad and kind of smooth that entrance into graduate school, but it's not necessarily a 5-year 2-degree plan. So it's important to note that it's a little different than other programs out there.
So just to follow on that, if I am interested in taking a graduate class as an undergraduate, but I don't really want to go the Fast Track route, is there something that I can do for that?
That is a good question. No, you can't. If you are an undergraduate student and you are not accepted into the Fast Track program, you cannot take a graduate class.
Fair enough. Okay, other questions?
So I have one. So when do you generally recommend us reaching out to the department to start volunteering for research in the context of our degree plans?
So I actually encourage that sooner rather than later. I mean, research is such an important part of the biomedical engineering program. It teaches you a lot of different skills that'll not only help you in your career and help you with graduate school, but also while you're here working on your senior design projects and that sort of thing. So getting familiar with the lab and getting, used to working within a lab is really great. I actually have a student who she was able to participate in a research lab her second semester of her first year. So really participating in that, reaching out to those instructors who have made an impact on you, you've made an impact on them. You've actually shown, your best face and all that stuff will be really helpful. So when you find out that there are research opportunities, go for it.
Thank you.
Okay. No, all right. Any other questions? I'm going to take that as a no. So Tanisha, the rest of you, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Oh, wait, I lied. Never mind. We had one pop up. Thank you, Rishi Kumar. How will research opportunities work this year with everything being online?
So maybe I should answer this one. So so Dr. Walker just said at the very beginning. So today we received a memo from our VPR and our provost telling us that they're going to allow us to accept undergraduates in a limited manner in our research labs. So it will be on a very constrained basis with a lot of mentoring through social distancing. But yes, there is now the opportunity to be able to do hands-on stuff in the lab. So my recommendation, figure out whose lab you want to work in, reach out to the professor, and then start the dialogue, because it's going to take a little bit more than usual, because they just can't say, hey, work with this postdoc. It won't work quite so like that. So we'll have to figure that out. But yes, the opportunity has now finally opened, and it will be starting August 24th. So not until then.
Excellent. Okay. Any other questions? Our undergraduate advising team?
So I do have one more thing that I would like to say. So what we would like to ask is that you guys are patient with us during this time. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have remote access, so that means it's taking us a little bit longer to research things. Like, all of our files are not necessarily with us. And so please be patient with us as we are getting through emails. We have our newest advisor, Nazreen, and so that's helped to kind of alleviate some of the email traffic a little bit. Thank you so much for joining us, Nazreen. But for the most part, just be patient. Know that your advisor, we really do care about you, and we do care, and we want to make sure that you are getting all of the things that you need, that you're getting in the classes that you need. It just might take us a little bit of time to answer your emails. All right? All right, and that's all we have. Thanks.
And I'd also like to add one more thing with respect to what Tanisha and her team does, is that they work very closely with the department. So when you run into issues, don't think that they're not aware or we are not aware. We work hand in hand. So we believe in teamwork. So they come to us. You can also come to us, but we understand sometimes the frustration that things are not answered immediately. But basically, we are all on the same page, and we are here for your advancement and your benefits. So we really appreciate Tanisha and her team in terms of what they do for us in bioengineering. So you should all be very grateful that they're here for us here today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. All right. So we did have one more question from Sahel, but I think that actually might be better suited for our next portion. It's asking about how our BMIN 1100 is going to work this semester online, but I think we can handle that one. So again, Tanisha, thank you very much. Thank you to the rest of you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn my video back on. Okay. Hello, everyone again. Okay. So I mentioned before, I'm Ben Porter. I am one of the Living Learning Community coordinators here. I believe that I saw that our other two coordinators are online, Dr. Sude Kubwe and Dr. Katie Myers. In addition to being the LLC coordinators, we are also the instructors for the Bioengineering 1100 and 1208, so the Introduction to Bioengineering classes. So the question that Sahil is asking, I apologize if I'm not saying your name right. How will lab classes like BMIN 1100 work this semester as it's going to be online? So, and Katie and Sude, please jump in if you have any comments on that one. We're trying our best to make the labs so we can either complete them online with you, or so we can send you the components or the kits or anything like that that you would need to do at home. So kind of assembling these little care packages of the components that you would need to work with. So I know for 1100, a lot of it we can do online. So we'll still do a good portion of it, like the Excel. We're going to work on Excel, get really familiar with that. We're going to be working with, I think we're still planning on working with LabVIEW, which is a programming program. that we have, but you can VPN into it using our computers, using your computer at home to get to the computers on campus and use the software that way. And then other portions of the class will be kind of introducing you to the various research aspects that we have going on at UTD. And then 1208 will be along similar lines where we try to package the stuff and send it to you. So hopefully that helps to answer your question there. And again, if you have other questions, we'll answer them as we go. So please keep them coming. I also wanted to comment, so that's kind of what you can expect from 1100, 1208 for the upcoming semester. We are also trying to come up with multiple events to happen over the course of the semester. Originally, we had planned on doing quite a few in person. Obviously, we can't do that anymore, but we were trying to plan quite a few for online. So some of those might be to meet and hear from faculty to find out about their research. You know, you see us in the labs or you see us in the classes, and we'll teach you about the class, but we don't necessarily talk about what we do in research if we're doing research. So it can be hard for you to figure out what lab do I want to go try to work in. So we will try to introduce you to our research faculty. You can find out more about them, what they do, see what interests you, and hopefully go out and start interacting with them on that different aspect of what they do. We're also going to try to do industry spotlights. That's where we bring in different companies, have them talk about what they do, the product they build, kind of give some advice for recruiting, for building up your resume, that sort of thing. So we'll be lining up some of those for the semester. We're also going to have alumni talks and panels where we bring in past students, so alumni. They'll talk about their careers, how they gotten where they are, and give advice to you on, again, what you can be doing now to prepare for life. And to also do career exploration. So figure out what different opportunities out there for bioengineers. What can you do with this degree once you graduate? We're also going to try to introduce you to some of our campus resources. So Dr. Walker had mentioned we have several really good ones. And if you remember from our first time, we met Eric Green. He's our career counselor that is associated with ECS. So we'll try to introduce you to him again and kind of explore what things you have at the Career Center that you can be using now to help prepare for once you graduate. We'll also try to introduce you to Jerry Alexander. He also met at that first meeting who can help with internships. So we'll bring in a lot of the campus resources we have, but we're also looking for your ideas. So if you have anything that you would like to see for us to try to do to interact as an entire department or just with the freshmen or just as a class, email me, let me know. So I will type in my email address into the discussion here. It's ben.porter@utdallas.edu, but I'll go ahead and type it again. Let us know what you're interested in doing. We're exploring the whole new online world and figuring out how to do it. So we're open. I would also like to say, and I speak for myself, but I do think I also speak for Dr. Myers and Dr. Kubroy on this one, is we are here to help you. The three of us, I mean, all of your faculty, but especially us as the teachers of the introduction to bioengineering classes, we're here to help you. We're here to help guide you through your transition to college life, and to kind of answer your questions about college in general and what to expect and beyond, and how do you take those next steps and prepare for a better academic career. So we are here to help you. Keep that in mind. We're a resource to you. That's why we're doing this, is we want you to succeed. So use us. So that's what I'll say about that. Sude or Katie, do you have anything you'd like to add? Kind of put them on the spot.
So, yeah, I forgot to unmute my microphone. So, about, I don't know if they want to know more about 208. So for 208, we have different modules. Actually, this fall, it has 4 modules. So we learn about MATLAB, SolidWorks, and microcontrollers. And for the microcontroller modules, they work with some circuits, so we send them some boxes. And then the last module that we have, it was supposed to be a group project, but because we cannot do it right now, I decided to work on their presentation. So they're gonna present one subfield of bioengineering that they are more interested in. So we have some lectures about different subfields of bioengineering. So I thought it would be a good idea if they practice on their presentation and what they want from, for example, being a bioengineer. So this is what I wanted to add about 208, but I'm sure we have some kind of update for spring. So Katie is working on spring version. So I cannot promise that they are exactly the same, but we are working on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to add in, yes, I'll be working on the 1208 for spring. It's, we're still waiting to see what the plans are going to be for spring. So, until we know more about that, I'm not going to have much information on where, what it's going to look like for spring. Whether we're going to be in person or online is going to have a large impact on what the class looks like in the spring. But for 1100, Dr. Porter kind of summed it up. We're still going to be able to do almost all the content that we normally do in person because a lot of it was computer software projects or worksheets and whatnot previously. So that's not going to change at all. And then, yes, the electronics component, you'll get the parts and you'll just be building simple circuits and you'll be able to do it from home. You'll certainly have direction from us. And so that's not going to change that much either.
Great, thank you. Okay. Well, so I don't have anything else to say in particular. So I think that we'll take it on to the next portion with Dr. Betsy Willis. So Betsy, are you available there?
Okay, yes.
Oh, okay.
I am repositioning, unmuting, starting video. So yeah, I just did a quick transition of rooms. I've got kiddos and dogs around here tonight. So anyway, welcome. We are excited to have you all joining us at UTD and certainly hope that you are looking forward to what promises to be an exciting first semester at UTD and in college. So I know as it's already been said, we in the department work very closely with undergraduate advising. We're bouncing questions off of one another, and we're here to answer your questions. So as you have those questions, certainly go to your advisor and just know that we are working with them to get those resolved. Also, with regard to undergraduate research, this is something that Leah Matheson, whom you'll hear from in just a moment, and I help coordinate. So we do have opportunities with our UTD bioengineering faculty. We also have opportunities with UT Southwestern. Most often, the UT Southwestern opportunities are for junior and senior level students. This is a great way for you to gain some research experience while also completing one of your degree requirements, being a guided elective. And so you do research for credit in these opportunities. We have approximately 14 students that will be collaborating with UT Southwestern faculty this coming fall for research. And those opportunities are expanding, and we have more and more faculty wanting our students to do research for them and with them. With any of the research opportunities, whether it's at UTD or UT Southwestern, there may be publication opportunities or times when you can present your work at conferences. So all of that's so important. It's a great learning experience for you. It can certainly guide future decisions as to whether you decide to go to graduate school or not. Even if you decide, hey, I tried research, I saw what grad students do and it's not for me, that'll be equally informative for you as you join industry and you bring a wealth of skills to that industry position. And certainly, we would love for you to be doing research with us as a doctoral student someday as well. So with that, certainly I'll help field any questions that pop in, but again, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And just know that myself and Leah, we are the kind of your points of contact within the department, and we're here to help you out as much as possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And let's go ahead. So we'll get to these questions here in a minute, but let's go ahead and introduce Ms. Leah Matheson. Leah, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name's Leah Matheson, and I'm the Academic Support Coordinator for Bioengineering. I handle all of the course scheduling, so when you have major issues, you can contact me as backup for the advisors, and I can help with logistics. One of the questions that has been asked is how you can tell whether your courses are on campus or online and the format. The best resource, I don't know what screens the Student Center shows you, but if you go to coursebook.utdallas.edu, that will spell out all of the course meeting times and the formats about which days, if it's a hybrid course, which days you'll be on campus. Face-to-face, there it is. And many of our courses are online, so it's fairly straightforward. And then the remote virtual learning means that you'll be meeting recommended at that course time. Otherwise, all courses will be offered asynchronously, meaning recorded and made available to you after that meeting time. One other element that Betsy and I wanted to touch on are student organizations that the department assists with. BMES is our big student organization that runs events throughout the year. And then we also have a new honor society that is being set up, and this will be the first full year of it running. So these will be opportunities for you to be involved.
Great, thank you. And those are definitely something they should take advantage of. It's a good way to kind of build up your experience and your resume, but it's also just a good way to get connected with the school and your fellow classmates, who you will be speaking with probably for the rest of your lives. I know I still talk to some of my classmates. So great, thank you, Leah. Okay, so our last speaker, Dr. Schmidtke, is not here quite yet, but I think we can start answering some of the questions. So Leah, you handled the one from Armand. I see one from Amy. Will teachers have online office hours outside of class times? So I believe the answer to that is still going to be a solid yes. How they structure that, I'm not sure. So my office hours in the past, or at least in the fall or spring semester, was by appointment. So if you had a problem and you wanted to talk, you could just email me. We could set up a Teams meeting like this. And it was really easy just to get on and chat with students. Some faculty may set up where they're just have their classroom on e-learning open for a set period of time and you can go drop in. But I think a lot of people kind of prefer that. Let's just schedule a time. Dr. Prasad, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's at the instructor's convenience as well as what makes best sense for that type of class. So what happens at undergraduate classes are very different from graduate. So in graduate, for example, what I'm teaching in fall, this upcoming fall, I have a separate time in my Teams channel. And so they can drop in then and we can talk about it, and we can also set up meetings by appointment. But meetings by appointment is what seems to be working, and all faculty prefer doing that. And then they can share their virtual whiteboard, or sometimes they are in their office and they point their whiteboard, physical whiteboard, and solve problems. So any of that, right? So it will be on the Teams interface, and all of you should have access to that since you have a net ID and your ability to access as being a UTD student.
Yeah, I will say, so one of the things that I'm missing personally is that whole interaction that we get before class and after class, where it was easy for you to walk up and ask me a question. That's a little bit more challenging now because we don't get that quite as easily. But I do try to hang around after some of my classes are over. So if somebody wants to type in something in the chat and say, hey, do you have a minute? I'll do that. That's not what everyone's doing. But you can usually try to schedule something before or after class, maybe when the faculty member is already set and ready to get something done at that time. But yeah, so I think a lot of it comes down to scheduling with those individual meetings. Okay. Let's see. Oh, no problem. Okay. And looking at it, it looks like Dr. Schmidtke has joined us. Dr. Schmidtke, are you with us? or is joining us. I'm not sure. Okay, well, he's getting set up and with us. Do we have any other questions that we can bring up and talk about? Okay, so the question from Kyle is, I don't know if I missed it, but is the name for the program previously mentioned where we can get credit for research? I actually don't know the answer to that one.
Is anyone from advising here still? If not, I'll take the question. So there is 4V97 and 4V98. But so one is basically an individual instruction and the other is just research. So that's a little more free flow, you know, the research piece of it, whereas individual instruction is that the advisor has very specific goals. It's more like an engineering project. We know what's going to happen. So generally students take it for around 3 semester credit hours because that is equivalent to one course, and that typically requires the student to spend about 15 hours in the lab or doing research kind of activity, you know, towards meeting that goal. And they're very specific. There's a program outline, and then, you know, you have to basically write the thing proposal down, and that has to be approved by the department. The signatories for that are me and Dr. Willis. So we generally review this and sign off. And once it's signed off, then you can basically do that. But you are, as freshmen, you would not be taking 4V97, 4V98 in your first year. So that's not something that typically is done at that point of time.
Good, thank you. All right. So Aparami is asking, when will teachers reach out to us about classes and syllabi? Soon. Very soon. So I know a lot of us are still trying to adapt to getting online and making sure everything is properly ready and set for you. So you can see on Coursebook, when you look up the courses, as Dr. Prasad had showed us earlier, you can see there's a listing for the syllabi. So let's see here. Share my screen really quick. So I believe you're looking at Coursebook now, and hopefully nothing else. Are we seeing Coursebook?
Yes.
Okay. So when you go into Coursebook and you're looking, I actually don't have any of my syllabus loaded yet. So hang on just a second. Let's just look at the end. All right. So when you bring it up, you have all the courses that pop up. I know I don't have any of my syllabi loaded yet, so I'll skip past those. Let's come down to statics. So if we click in there, there's a syllabus section here. When you click on that, so when the syllabi are posted, that's definitely one place you can find it. Like I said, a lot of us are still adapting and getting ready and setting those up. I would expect to see most of those posted next week. So that's probably not the solid answer that you were hoping for, but that's we're working on it, I guess I'll say. All right. Okay. Dr. Schmidtke, are you with us and available now?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
We can, and I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing my screen so that we can come over to you now. Okay, there we go. Sorry. So everyone, this is Dr. Dave Schmidtke. He is the chairperson for Undergraduate Curriculum Development Committee. So Dr. Schmidtke, all you.
Okay. I was going to share a few slides. Let's see if I can do this. where do I go to share slides?
Top right corner of your screen, there's a little square with an arrow pointing into it. That's the open share tray. It's right beside the leave, the red leave box.
Okay, let's see. I am not seeing that on my screen. Let's see. You said upper right-hand corner?
Should be on the upper right-hand corner, right next to the red box that has the telephone, like it's hanging up. Like right next to that, there should be a box.
Isn't there a share button right next to the microphone where you turn your microphone on?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, that's where it is. Okay, let me just jump to this. Back here, sorry about this. All right, everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, so I hope this is not repetitive of some of the material I'm going to cover. I'm sure some of it has been covered, but so as Dr. Porter said, I'm Dr. Schmidtke. I'm the chair of the Undergraduate Curriculum Committee, and so I've been in the department for almost 6 years now. I arrived in 2014. This is just my contact information. In case you need to reach me, the best way is through email. So david.schmidtke@utdallas.edu. And then, so my office is in the Bioengineering Science Building. And then just a little info on myself, my group does research in a number of different areas. And the reason why I put this up there is just to show, one aspect of biomedical engineers is that they can work on a variety of different projects. They can work on electronic biosensors to measure glucose levels for diabetics, or you can look at more fundamental cell biology and looking at how cells adhere to biomedical implants, or you can create nano and micro fabricated type of devices. And so my group does research in all these areas. And I don't know if it's been mentioned at all, but there are opportunities to do research in the lab. Now, when that will happen or how that will happen in the current situation is a little bit up in the air, but normally.
So Dave, I just addressed that. They can do it from August 24th, and the memo came out. So I just talked about that.
Okay.
Sorry
okay.
to butt in, but.
So I'm sure, people have talked a little bit about what biomedical engineers do. Did anybody talk at all that briefly or not?
Not yet.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay. So I'm just going to go through this quickly, and I don't have time, but you can see this is just a small slice of what bioengineers do. So, if you're interested in tissue engineering, there are opportunities there. If you like biology, if you're more, electronics, then you could be in the biomedical device. You might do biosensors, you might do robotics or prosthetic devices. If you like computers more, you might do physiological modeling or computational research. And so hopefully from this slide, you can get a feel that you have, after you graduate with your degree, you will have many career options and directions you can go. And also while you're at UTD, like I said, there are opportunities to do research in professors' labs. And so you might be able to work a semester or two in a lab and see if you like that area. So there's just a wide variety of different areas that engineers, biometric can go in. And so with that, biomedical engineering, it really lies at the intersection of engineering, biology, and medicine. And so with that, and I don't know if you've talked about the curriculum, but if you notice in the curriculum, there's a heavy dose of mathematics. So you take multiple calculus courses. We've revised it so you get a little bit more chemistry, since chemistry is the foundation for making materials and it's the foundation for biology and biological processes. You'll take some physics to understand force and mechanics. Obviously, there's going to be a heavy dose of engineering and engineering design. And BME, biomedical engineers, sit right at the intersection of all these different disciplines. And so if you look at the curriculum, There's the sort of the fundamentals that you'll take during the first couple of years, math, chemistry, physics, biology, computer science. And then you'll start a little bit this in your freshman year, but in sophomore years, but you see the variety of biomedical engineering classes. And there's some fundamental classes like biomechanics, biomaterials, medical imaging that will sort of lay the foundation if you want to concentrate in a specific area. And so, for example, I've highlighted, these that you're going to have in the curriculum we currently now have. You're going to have 4 electives in BME in biomedical engineering, so that if you really want to focus on biomaterials, you'll be able to take 3 or 4 classes related to biomaterials. And I'll talk a little bit about potential electives in the next slide. But you'll have, about 40 credit hours. 40 of the 52 are specifically, laid out for you. And then you'll have 12 hours that are more up to you to choose. And then also there's some general engineering classes. And then there are other core classes, arts and other English that the university requires. And so, as I said, in that one of those first slides, there's, a lot of different areas that you can go into. And so, these are the core classes that you will take, that every bioengineer will take. So you'll take a statics, you'll take a engineering design, you'll take a circuits, a signals, cell molecular engineering, physiology, thermal, biomechanics, feedback systems. So every one of you will take these courses. But then you will have some options. And this is just a partial list of some of the elective courses that are offered in the biomedical engineering department. And so I try to cluster some of these. For example, like I said, if you're really interested into materials, we have a polymers for biomedical applications. I teach a course called Self-Assembly of Biomaterials. There's biomaterials and how they relate to medical devices. Or if you're more, like I said, into electronics, there's robotic control, medical device development. Or if you're more interested in biology, there are, genes, proteins, and cell biology for engineers. And so this is, like I said, this is just this partial list of some of the elective courses that will be available. So when you get to, of the 4 BME electives or the 12 credit hours that you're going to have to fulfill, this is just some of the listings of some of the courses that you can take. And so with that, I will stop and I will answer any questions you might have for me.
Great, thank you, Dave. So I think we will open it up for general questions now. So if you don't mind hanging around, and
sure,
we can with the end. We have a couple in the chat now. Someone had asked earlier about emails. So we'll pretty much, you do have to use your UTD email account. I'll just go ahead and say that now. If you email a faculty member or professor or any of the staff, it should be from your UTD email account. Otherwise, we're not really supposed to respond to you, or at least give you information other than to say, please email me from your UTD email account. So there's that question. Somebody was asking about Research Match Day and the date for that. I actually am not aware if we're doing Research Match or how that's working this semester.
So we'll follow up with Amy Walker on this one. So Jessica Murphy, who's the Dean of Undergraduate Studies, right? So her office runs the Research Match Day for the undergraduates. And it happens both the semesters, the fall and the spring. At the spring, it's when it's the larger one, because this students then think about volunteering or doing research even during the summer, right? So, but we did some form of an online match for last spring when we all went online. And so there will be, as I understand, matching, but I think it will happen as a virtual event this fall. We don't yet have the details, so we'll work with Amy Walker as well as with Jessica Murphy's office, Dean Murphy's office. And then once we know more, then the LLC advisors will be able to disseminate that information. and I also wanted to mention, this question has come up again in the chat, is are you allowed to do physical research? And the answer to that is yes, as of today. We got the memo from our provost and our VP of research allowing limited undergraduate research access effective August 24th. So you will need to reach out to the faculty member, and because they have to figure out, they are getting additional research slots to enable this to happen. So they need to figure out what's best for their lab before they can accommodate. But yes, faculty will be able to take on undergraduate students for research for fall, so which is a great thing. And I was telling you that all the last few times we met, that I don't know. And so that's a great development. So let me ask Dr. Schmidtke this question. So Dave, if I am starting brand new and I don't know anything, right? How would I approach you and decide that I want to join your lab, or what's the best way that I can do this and this becomes effective to me?
So the advice that I give students is first think about what you really want to do. Are you interested in tissue engineering? Are you interested in biomaterials, drug delivery? And so first think about what your interests, and you don't have to necessarily limit to one, but maybe to, two or three, and then go to the faculty web pages. So hopefully somebody showed you that if you go to the UTD bioengineering homepage, and then I think it's under people, you can see each faculty, and a lot of them have then their own website where you can read about their research interest. And if those research interests overlap with yours, then my suggestion is to send that professor an email and say, hey, I was reading your research on, for me, Dr. Schmidtke, on you do glucose sensors. And I'm really interested in glucose sensors because my grandfather is a diabetic and he's got to prick his finger. And so I'm really interested in that area. And then see if they can, set up a meeting with them. It might be virtual now because of, what we're currently in, but most professors will respond to that. At least that's the advice I give. And then, I typically will have a conversation with the student and see, if our interests overlap and what their expectations, how many hours are they interested in working in the lab. I'll just give you my own personal view, and this can, maybe Dr. Prasad can answer it as well. But I guess if you are interested in doing research, just realize that it is and you may be doing it for a volunteer, but it's sort of a job in that, in my lab, I tell students that you should plan on at least 10 hours a week, because if you do anything less than 10 hours a week, you don't really get anything out of the experience. And the other thing to realize is that when you join a lab, you're going to have to be trained by a grad student or even maybe a professor, and they're going to have to invest time with you. And so if they are going to take time out of their schedule to work with you, then you want to be, dependable. Like if you say, I'm going to work 10 hours a week. Now, obviously, when classes and exams come up, you may have to decrease those hours, but just realize I typically tell students it'll be about, anywhere 10 or 15 hours a week. You don't want to work more than 15 hours a week because, your classes should be your priority. But that's generally the advice I give to the students that approach me.
Yeah, I actually agree with Dr. Schmidtke on that. So generally 15 hours broadly translates into 3 half days with start and prep and clean up and everything put together, right? So, and you need to be able to commit to at least 3 half days because you are probably shadowing a senior researcher in a faculty lab, and then you're doing stuff by yourself. Then you have to do the data analysis and so on and so forth, right? So, while everything looks exciting in the, I also urge you to be cautious and look at your degree plan, look at what you can effectively commit. So Dr. Schmidtke, suppose I have volunteered and then I find this overwhelming. What's the best way to communicate to my professor that this is now really overwhelming? What do I do? I mean, do I just drop off, not show up
Oh,
the
no.
lab?
So ideally in a coronavirus free world, I would set up a meeting and just talk to the person. I believe in face-to-face meetings, and I would just say, look, Dr. Schmidtke, I took on too much, and my classes, and for whatever reasons, I'm just going to use classes as the example, but I'm not doing as well as I had hoped to my classes, and I really need extra time to study. And that would be the best way. Let them know. And most professors, will work with you and say, if you need to take a break for a couple of weeks to focus on your studies, and maybe you come back the next semester, that's fine. But let somebody know, and if you don't meet with them face to face, you can always, because typically you'll be teamed with a graduate student. If you don't talk to the professor, at least talk to the grad student and let the grad student know that your schedule has changed and you won't be coming in, because as I said, usually you will be trained by a grad student, and they may teach you to do a certain method that they're now relying on you to do. And so if you just drop off, they'll be like, well, this person was supposed to, make these plates for me. And so just communication is the key. And so, and it happens. So don't feel like, oh, I got to tough it out because they'll think less of me. No, I've had students who've had to take a break. It happens. And especially because as you come in as freshmen, it's a new transition. You're on your own, you're taking college level classes. It's a transition. And so, but the key thing is communication. I would say either communicate with the grad student that you're working with or directly to the professor.
No question for you, Dr. Schmidtke. So now I have joined your lab, or I'm coming for this first meeting with you, and
Yes.
I'm going to tell you I want to just volunteer for a semester or two in your lab because I want your letter of recommendation because I'm going to apply to med school. Is that a right approach? How should I be? But that is my goal, to get a good recommendation from you. how should I be putting myself in that for getting that final outcome?
Well, so I believe in honesty, and if that's your intent, just be honest. Now, some professors might say, well, okay, that maybe isn't a good fit. I usually, and again, I'm going to give you my perspective on this. I can't speak for other professors. Usually what I tell students is if they want to come work in my lab, that I generally expect a 2-semester commitment, because typically it will take you about a semester to learn the different techniques and become independent. And then the second semester, you're relatively independent. A lot of times you can work without a graduate student, and you can be working in the lab and you're producing useful data. Now, we always evaluate after the first semester that if it's not working out for you or not working for the professor, I don't hold everybody and say, well, you said 2 semesters if they find out they don't like it. But and so I've had probably, so before this, I was at the University of Oklahoma. And so between UTD and OU, I've probably had about 70 undergrads work in my lab over the last 20 years. And so I've only can think of 2 people that didn't continue on past 1 semester. And that wasn't the area they were interested. They wound up doing research in another group. And I have had about 5 or 6 students go to med school. So it is a great training opportunity. It does look good on a resume. And if that's, if that's what you're intended, just let the professor know. Sometimes it's just, I want the experience because I want to find out about this area. Sometimes the student knows they want to go to grad school. And sometimes it is, I want something on my med school. That's okay. My suggestion is just be honest with the professor so that he knows what your intent is, and then you can both work, through it.
More, what I hope will be a final question to you, Dr. Schmidtke.
Yes.
So, as an undergrad, should I be considering volunteering more than one lab in any given semester, or should I be exclusive and focus on one given lab for that semester?
So you should be exclusive because, as I said, a commitment is about, you should expect 10 or 15 hours a week. in, doing research. And so if you're taking, just think of the, your commitment. So if you're taking 15 hours, and if you're, on average, they say for every hour in class, you should be spending 2 or 3 hours studying. So your 15 hours of classwork probably translates to about 40 hours of studying and classwork. And then you add 10 or 15 hours in one lab, you're close to 50 hours a week. And those are just rough numbers. And so if you're trying to do two things, it just doesn't work. I've seen it a little bit, and I tell students in my lab, you just need to work in my lab because, when you commit to a project, you really want to focus on that. If you're trying to do too many things, you won't do any of them well. And so I would highly recommend, now, like I said, you could go in one lab for one semester, and if you then don't like that, then you can switch over to a different lab the next semester. But I would not recommend trying to do work in two different labs at the same time.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that.
Sure.
Ben, back
Okay.
to you.
All right. So it looks like our next question is from Armand. It says, if we were interested in physiological modeling or computational research, would you recommend that we focus more on CS classes or continue and go attend middle school?
So there are groups in the bioengineering department that do computational research. And so, as an undergrad, I would say, take as much computer science as you can. So you'll get some programming and you could take some there and then try and work in a professor's lab and see if you like it. And then that professor can give you suggestions as far as, what classes you might like take, depending on what you're modeling or what your ultimate goal is.
From a curriculum standpoint, the sophomore year is going to give you a good introduction to molecular to system level physiology. So that's important. Now, there are research faculty in bioengineering and as well as in the School of Natural Sciences and Mathematics whose research is in the area of molecular modeling, system modeling, and different forms of physiology, right? Along with CS. So CS's approach is very different, right? It takes a black box like approach. And whereas when you look at people coming at it from a more natural sciences or a biological aspect, it is more nuanced. So you may want to have the experience of all of it, right? So as Dr. Schmidtke says, try to volunteer or research in more than one lab to get that flavor to best understand your fit. Hopefully you find that fit maybe by your junior year and you can spend a whole year and actually work towards getting a name as a co-author on a research paper. And that would be a great achievement. So you could think about that.
Great, thank you. So next question is from Rithika. Besides research, what other opportunities do you recommend to gain valuable beaming experience? Great question. So I'll go ahead and put out a few, and then please jump in if you have any other ideas. But so our two student groups that were mentioned earlier, the Biomedical Engineering Society, the local chapter, it's a great place to gain some more experience. You can get some leadership experience and volunteer experience with that. And then the other one, the honors group that is being formed this year. There's also a journal club that has recently begun over the summer. That is a good one to gain more experience about reading research and presenting research, which is those presentation skills are very valuable and fantastic. And then there are lots of other opportunities on campus, just around in different groups that you can volunteer with that are more kind of special interest, but there are different types of outreach. So check that out. There's a ton of student groups out there. I'll go find the page here in a second and I'll type it into the chat. So that's one that I would recommend. So Dr. Prasad or Schmidtke or anyone else have any other suggestions?
Yeah, so for the community efforts, while there was the discussion of epics in the form of curriculum, right? So then there are partnerships outside with those organizations from a volunteer standpoint as well. So when you talk to the epics coordinators, you can discuss those aspects as well. Besides that, of course, there are the standard, the internship aspects, which is, so a BMES has its own career fair, as well as there's the Johnson School Career Fair. Then there is a big interest in getting a regulatory or an internship in the medical device space for some. Some are interested in that, as well as in the quality space. So there are organizations, professional organizations with whom we have relationships where we invite students for their meetings, which I think now occur virtually, but used to occur face to face in the evenings. So those would be other ways by which you could, have touch points to biomedical engineering. Dave, anything else?
No, I think, I would recommend getting involved with the BMES Society, because you'll be able to connect with your fellow students, particularly the upperclassmen, and they can give you, ideas, and they can talk about their experience. And if they've had other valuable experiences, they can, discuss them with you. So I would highly encourage participation in the BMES Society.
I'll throw in one more just to piggyback off of the internships discussion. You can also shadow alumni. So if you reach out to alumni on LinkedIn, and if you don't have a LinkedIn account yet, I'm sure we'll have you with one here by the end of the first year or so. But you can find alumni online, figure out what they're doing with their degrees, and then you can ask to do their informational interviews where we find out more about what they're doing and kind of establish relationships that way.
Yeah.
Or you can actually go shadow them at their job if they're willing to do that. And then you can actually see what the day-to-day is like. Or you can actually possibly go to a lab where they're assembling devices or things like that, or doing whatever it is that you're interested in. So those are other great experiences, at least to kind of figure out what's out there and what you can do. But it also builds up your network. So when you are looking for jobs, you have some contacts.
So one other thing that I might suggest, you might also consider is that the BME department has a regular seminar series where we bring speakers from across the United States and sometimes internationally. And that's another good way to find out, what's going on in BME, is to attend those seminars. So I would encourage that as well.
Absolutely. Good question. Okay, now Kyle asked, how do we get involved in this new honor group? Betsy, do you know on that one?
Okay, yes, I can speak to that. So this is a program, it's a National Honor Society type organization. It has criteria in terms of level, like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and then GPAs earned at those different levels. And so what we do every semester, or certainly every academic year, is we pull the list of students who meet those requirements set by the national organization, and the officers of the program initiate invitation letters to those students who apply.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Rithika had asked, by the ethics opportunity, what do you mean, ma'am? And that's our ethics program, the engineering projects and community service. I think that's caught us up on the questions in the chat. Do we have any other questions that we can address right now for you? Okay. Well, with that, I think we got one more. Is the Honor Society the NSCS?
No, the initials of it are AEMB. And I forget what those stand for off the top of my head.
It's Alpha, Eta, Mu, Beta.
Thank you.
Leah, would you mind typing that into the chat?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so if there are no more questions, and I think we're ready to bring tonight to a wrap. So thank you everyone for coming. Looking forward to seeing you in less than 2 weeks. So Dr. Prasad, is there anything you'd like to finish with?
Nothing else except that we're really excited to welcome you into this fall semester, and we hope you'll have a very exciting journey. So bon voyage. Bye. Bye.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us.